Okay, now we are moving on to the men's side of Sheffield, and for the men, we have no 59. So in the 66s, we have two competitors. We have current world champion, multiple time world champion Pana, and then we have from Japan Kyoto. Then in the 74s, we will have a rematch of the top two from this past year's Worlds with Cal Johansson and Tim Monagatti. In the 83s, returning multiple time world champion and last year Sheffield contestant, we got Delaney Wallace. In the 93s, of course, again, they decided let's just bring everyone. So we have multiple time world champion Jonathan Keiko. We got fan favorite burning the ships Gavin Aiden. We've got from Sweden, first time in Sheffield, Gustav Hedlund. And we got one of the wild card unknowns from Guyana, Carlos Peterson Griffith. So that's what we got in the 93s. And then in the 105s, we have the world champion who couldn't be there last year because he missed Worlds, which is Anatoly. 120s, we got Britain's own Tony Cliff. And then representing the 120 plus, we
Yes.
have the strongest powerlifter to ever live, Jesus Alvarez. So we're going to go and I guess go on the same format. So we'll start with our top six and then do the bottom six. Let's see. Ish, do you want to go first?
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, I have Gavin down as sixth. Now, I do think his top end, he can actually finish as high as third. But the main problem I have with Gavin is hitting lifts. So I think his absolute top end I have between 909 and 905 kilos, but he's had an issue historically of hitting squat depth. And also his deadlift seems to be a bit it seems to be a bit 50-50. For example, last year, Sheffield, his deadlift, he absolutely smoked his final deadlift, but then at Worlds, like his deadlift was nowhere on the day. So actually have him as the same top end as some of the other 93s, but I'm not as confident with him, which is why I have him down in six. So yeah, I think he'll probably hit 8 for 9 lifts, 7 or 8 for 9. If he goes 9 for 9, I do think he'll probably hit the same total as who I have ahead of him, but then it'll just come down to body weight, and I'll just go for the person that I'm more confident in. So yeah, I have Gavin down to sixth.
Okay. Adriana, who do you have at number six?
I have got 74 kilo vice champion Timothy Monigatti in my sixth place position. His deadlift, that deadlift he posted, 345 kilos, was, I mean, it wasn't even that hard, which is crazy as a 74 kg lifter. So let me see what I've got him at. Yeah, I just think that deadlift will be his trump card. Oh, maybe I'm spoiling my list a little bit, but over Cali. So I think he'll break his own world record. I think he'll go like 286, 288 kilos, something like that. And I think his world record is 283.5. So yeah, I have him breaking that. His bench, he hasn't posted like since forever. So I kind of just like took a little bit of a hit just because of like maintaining that low body weight that he's at. So I just have him going 167.5. And then that deadlift, I think he'll just be able to pull like upwards of like 350. So I have him breaking the world record, but just by a little bit. I think he'll go like 801. And yeah, so I'm in sixth place.
Okay. So for me, at number six is honestly, I'm not sure why exactly I put him at six. It's the person I'm least sure about on this entire list, which is Anatoly. Now, Anatoly hasn't been posting anything heavy on squat or deadlift. We have no idea if he's injured, if he's trying to hide it, if he's just having fun. Who knows? I think if I knew he was healthy and was seeing his regular posting, I'd maybe move him up a spot on this list. Like I think he potentially would be fighting even for like fourth. But if he's not fully healthy, he could move all the way down to literally last. Like I think I have 5 through 10 pretty tight, and obviously being even a little bit injured can move anybody by like 5, 6 spots because you're a little bit injured. You have to take off 10% on even one of your lifts, and you go to last. Like that's how these things work. Everyone's close. So especially where I have like literally all the men, with the exception of one, like pretty tightly clustered. So I'm gonna have Anatoly in sixth, assuming that he is healthy or at least mostly healthy. If healthy, I think he will break the squat world record, probably squat around somewhere 365, like chip it or whatever, 363. Bench is the one thing he has been posting, and bench is looking really good. I have him like maybe around 230. The bench world record is 233.5. It's possible, especially if he's hurt and can't squat and deadlift like fully, that he'll take a shot at that bench world record. But if he's healthy, he probably will play it a little bit more conservatively for his total. And then deadlift, again, like we have no idea if he's healthy or not. But I think if healthy, he can probably break the world record by like 1%, which for me would put him in like the sixth range. And if not, he will be, if he's not healthy, he'll be well under the world record in last. So this is my least sure pick, and I put him right in the middle. Okay, so let's move on to number 5. Who do you have at number 5?
So yeah, for my number 5, I have Tim. Now Tim, his training's been going pretty crazy, especially his squat and deadlift. Like his squat done 287.5 kilos. I think he'll probably go for 290 on meet day, just go above his current world record. His deadlift is the most craziest thing, that 345 kilo deadlift, and it looked like he had more in the tank. I think he will probably go above in meet day as well. So I think his deadlift he'll probably pull 345 to 350. The problem though is I know a lot of people have been heard a lot of people talking about Tim maybe winning, but thing is with Tim is he doesn't really have the bench to keep up with the total. So I think he hasn't really posted any bench. So his current PR is 170, but his previous 2 meets he's only hit 165. I don't know if he's dealing with a pec issue or whatever, but yeah, I'll just say based on him not posting in the past, I'll just say given the benefit of the doubt, I think he'll probably bench 170. So I have Tim if he hits all his top ends at.
Hello.
Just recently at Euros, Shell, he broke the world record total. He put it up to 800. Hello? Did you guys hear what I said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We heard the last part.
Which part did you guys not hear?
You were talking about, you said Tim's bench was not as good, and then you said give him the benefit of the doubt 170, and then I think you cut off after that.
Okay, yeah. So if I add up what I think he can do, I think he can squat 290, bench 170, deadlift 350, which adds up to an 810 kilo total. So just a bit over 1% above the world record total. Yeah, if this was a few months ago, I think I would have had him higher up, but the issue is Shell, he just broke the world record total up to 800 when it was 790.5 before. But yeah, because of that as well, I have Tim down in 5th, but I could see him getting higher up if everyone else misses.
Right. Okay. Adriana, who do you have at number 5?
Okay, so for my number 5 pick, that's we're on, I have got Kyoto at number 5. So I think he doesn't post much of his training, but his deadlifts, that's his like problem. Like he has hit over the world record total in a meet, like in a competition at Japanese Nationals last year, just before Sheffield. But then when he gets to these big meets, he just like fumbles the bag, basically, especially on his deadlift. I think he was like pulling for the win at Worlds, and he missed both his second and third deadlifts, which put him like way behind, like not able to come out on top against Pana. So I mean, he's been hitting a lot of pause deadlifts. I think he hit like 290 kilograms paused, and it looked like pretty clean to me. I think like I think on the men, just there's a ton of question marks. So it's kind of like a lot of us are probably just gonna be guessing. So my guess is that he's fixed his deadlift, and I think he'll take a shot at the world record just because he seems like the type to just want it all. Or I think he might even try to pull into first place during his last deadlift, since he'll be one of the first people to go. And I have him missing that, but I still think he'll be able to break the world record on his second deadlift. So I have him coming with fifth at just above the world record at 712.5.
Okay, so for me, number 5, I actually have 2 through 5 is like insanely close. But of those 4 lifters, 3 of them I have massive question marks about, and one of them I don't. So we're not going to say the one I don't yet. But so for number 5, I have Panna. Now, training's going well. He just did that 730 kilo total in the gym, but there's a lot of problems here. First off, he was around 70 kilos there, and to cut 4 kilos at that body weight is a pretty significant amount. Now, it's doable, and he's used to doing it, but in general, he has never done on the platform what he's done in the gym. So I don't expect him to replicate that 730. I think like if he gets 720, that would be a great day. I think all of these 4 lifters are probably going to be around a little bit above or a little bit less than 1.5% above the world record, right around that range. So I think he's probably going to squat uh, like a little bit on like maybe 255, 257, bench like maybe 172, 175, and then I think he's done 290 in the gym on deadlift. It's possible he can do it again. I think probably a little bit less, but I'm a little worried just all these things because Anna also he like he stated he's coming to Sheffield to win, and when you come to win, you're very likely to overreach, especially because based off the numbers I have, for him to win, he would have to overreach. Like he would have to like total around that 730 that he did in the gym, which I don't think he's capable of doing on the platform. So I'm gonna put him last in this group, but I still think that if he does have a good day and does go 9 for 9, that he will break the top 5. So I have him at number 5. Ish, who do you have at number 4?
So yeah, for me, I have at number 4, Mr. Perfect, Jonathan Kaiko. So Kaiko's training has been going really well, and based on what he does, I have no doubt he'll be at 900 plus. It's just the thing is, I think everyone who I have ahead of him can go above the certain percentage you get from that. So I have Kaiko at about 900 to 905 kilo total. So squats, I think it's first time in about years, Kaiko's squats have been looking really good. Usually 300 is like a mega grind for him, but now that looks like something that's something that he can do with a bit in the tank now. His bench, of course, he's Mr. Bench. He'll always break his own world record. He'll probably up it to 245 or a bit more. And his deadlift has actually looked really good as well. He just pulled that, what was it? I think 340 in the gym. And given Kaiko usually pulls more on meet day, I think he has 345 to 350 in him as well. So I have Kaiko about 900 to 905 kilo total. It's the same as Gavin, but thing is, Kaiko is just guaranteed that he's going to hit all his lifts. Yeah, that's what I have at number 4.
Okay, Adriana, who do you have at number 4?
All right, for my number 4 lifter, I've got Anna. I have him going around like kind of the same points as Mike. Like honestly, I really want him to win just because it's like such a heartfelt story. Or even like when he won Worlds this past year, like I don't think anyone who was not French had him winning. Like I certainly did not, and he ended up winning the whole thing, and it was really just heartfelt moment. So I when I was doing this, I was like, I honestly want him to win, but I think he would have to go 9 for 9, or at least he would have to hit his last deadlift, and that's just not him. Um, like just looking at the data, looking at what he's done in past meets, he's always going very aggressive, especially if he's looking to win, like he is at this meet. He has that like crazy cut, 3-4 kilos. So I don't know, like my 1 through 4, I think all the men, honestly, 1 through 4, and then like, or 1 through 5, and then like 6 through 10 are just like super tight for me. So I could honestly see him winning, as crazy as it sounds, if he were to not even replicate the 730 total, but I think if he went 720, he could win. But I just have him missing that last deadlift, potentially trying to get into that first place spot. Since again, like Kyoto, he's one of the first lifters who are going to be going in the deadlifts. So I have him finishing just off the podium at 4th place.
Okay. Now for me at number 4, another one of the lifters that there's some question marks about, which is Gavin. Now, for years, Gavin has been in like striking distance of squatting the world record and has done it multiple times, only for it to get overturned. Now, I think on paper, Gavin is the strongest he's ever been. His squat is looking really good in the gym. His bench is looking incredible, and he switched to conventional, and that's looking really good as well. He pulled 337 and a half, like with room in the tank. Now, the one thing here is that I'm worried about attempt selection. Gavin is very well known for he doesn't play the game. He does it how he wants to do it. He burns the ships, and the way he does it, if things go right, he has the crazy ceiling. But when you do it that way, things go wrong more often than they go right. So I think he's going to be in range for the squat world record. He's going to battle it with somebody we're going to talk about later, Carlos Peterson Griffith. Both their squats in training look like they're in that world record range. Now, I think a lot of this comes down to whether he decides to like chip it versus trying to blow it up and then potentially leaving like 10 kilos on the table. Now, I still have him a little bit lower than some other people just because his number one is we're not sure what's going to happen with that squat. And number 2 is he doesn't have the best deadlift. So I don't think he's going to pull last of this 4-person crew. And I also don't think his top end is that much higher. Like, I think he can get around a 900 kilo total. I think maybe like 902. I don't really see more than that happening. Even that would be a huge total PR for him. So I think he'll do around that. If he has a good day, he'll have around 900, 902. And for me, that would put him in 4th. Now, I'll just go to my 3rd now. For me at number 3, I have the one person on this list who has a million question marks, but I think is the only person here who can challenge for 1st, which is Kyoto. Now, Kyoto, his squats look good in training. It's not a crazy squat, 250. It's lower than, like, that's why I have him at around 250. It's lower than Pana, and the squat's not going to win him the meet, but he has a very good bench. I have him like in the 177 range, potentially. Now, the biggest problem is deadlift. It's a problem, and it could be good. Meaning, he has, on pure deadlift strength, he has unlimited deadlift strength. Now, I've been watching him for years now, and he has issues a little bit with grip, but much more with lockout. If you watch like a lot of his training, not necessarily as much recently, but for a while, he was doing a lot of stuff with straps, a lot of stuff with pound plates, a lot of stuff that like showed his strength, but like just was not competition standard. Now, the reason why I have him at 3rd, and maybe even dropping a couple spots and not at 2nd or 1st is I'm not confident in his 3rd deadlift, and I'm also not confident in him making the correct decision on his 3rd deadlift. He's going to be pulling 1st of these top 4 people on my list. So he's not going to know like, okay, I know I can load this for 1st, or I know I can load this for 2nd. So he's going to have to decide what to load. And a very appealing number to load is going to be 308, right? Because that will be the world record deadlift. And I think there's a good chance he tries to load it, and I think he will not hit it. The same way I didn't think he was going to hit a 2nd or 3rd at Worlds. I don't think if he loads 308, he's going to hit that. I think he's probably capable of like 295, 300, which like if he went 300 would put him on my list 2nd and potentially even 1st, but probably not. Put him 2nd. But I think he's probably going to take lower than 300 on his 2nd, and I think he's probably going to go over it on his 3rd and miss. So I have him at 3rd. Ish, who do you have at number 3?
Okay, I'll go. Number 3. I have got Gavin Aiden at number 3. It's always the squat. It's the third squat that he just struggles to get. I have him hitting the world record. I have him just chipping it. I don't know if that's going to be his plan. I don't know if he's going to go 335, 340, and then potentially miss it. I don't know if he's going to walk through the front of the rack and miss it that way when he celebrates, per the new IPF rule. But yeah, I mean, I have him hitting it. He posted, I think it was a 320 kilo squat, and the depth looked like it was from the front, but it looked good to me. Like it didn't look like his squats that are typically a little higher. But that being said, it's a question mark. So I have him hitting it, but I don't have him winning the whole thing, even if he does hit it. And yeah, so I have him chipping that world record. He hasn't really been posting bench, so I just kind of gave him a little bit off of what he did at Worlds, like 217.5, maybe 220. And then deadlifts, he switched to conventional. I think that'll be a lot more reliable for him. So I have him going like 345. Maybe that's a little bit ambitious, but whatever. So I have him hitting around like 895 kilo total. I don't think he will do 900 at this meet, but we'll see. Like that'll just be a big jump. And it seems like meet after meet, like it's always who's gonna hit 900. This is the meet where Kate, Kaiko, or Gavin, or Gustav, or Petrie in the US are gonna hit 900. So I don't think it's there yet for Gavin, but I still think he'll finish in the same place he did last year at 3rd place.
Okay. So you have Gavin at number 3. Ish, who do you have at number 3?
Okay, so for me, I have Callie that you had to that number 3. Now, I would have had him probably winning the entire thing before what's called shell up the world record, but maybe I'm just biased, but I'm very high on Callie's progress in terms of what he's done in the gym. He's done he's done 280, but that was like an RP11 grind. But he did do 275 more recently, which looked a lot more reasonable. So I think he's just matched out on meet day. His bench, obviously he's a very good bencher. I think he's done 192.5 in the gym, and it looked decently comfortable. So I think he'll just repeat that as well. Now, Callie's deadlift is the one which I think people are underestimating. So this might be just because I've followed him for a bit more time, but I've seen his training and he always pulls more on the platform than he does in the gym. I'm guessing he just gets a lot out of the taper, but if you saw looking into worlds, like his final deadlift looking into worlds, which was a bit lower than what he ended up pulling on the platform, it was a lot harder than how he done it on the platform. And right now he's done 340 in the gym and he's doubled 325 as well, which look comfortable. So I think he can pull like 350 on the platform as well. So I actually have Calais top end at 817.5 kilos, which is a or 275 squat, 192.5 bench, and a 350 kilo deadlift. Now that's 2% above the world record total, which is very high, but I think the people ahead of him can go even higher in terms of percentage above the world record total.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, he's definitely getting messed over by the shell then, but that's pretty high. Okay. So we'll move to number 2, and at number 2 on my list, I have Mr. Perfect himself. So like I said before, for 2 through 5, I have them all really tight, and when it comes down to it, there's not a single person in powerlifting I trust more to hit lifts than Jonathan Keiko. Now, squat has looked the best it has probably ever, definitely in a long time. I think he might hit a something like 305. Bench, he's going to break the world record like he normally does. I have him probably like 245, 245.5, something like that. They take whatever they want. So I don't know if they're gonna chip it on the second and then add like another few kilos on the third. I'm not sure what their strategy is there. It'll probably also depend a little bit on how other people are doing at that point. And deadlift also is looking the best it ever has. He hit 345 in the gym, which I don't believe he's ever hit in the gym before. I think it's finally time he's in the 350 range, 350 plus range on the platform. So I think he's going to break into the 900s. And while I said before that I think if everything goes right for Gavin, he's at like 900, 902. I think if everything's right for Keiko, he's at like, I have him down at 903. And I just always assume that everything's going to go right for Keiko because he makes it right. He lifts to the standard. He trains to the standard. There's never anything questionable. So it's just a matter of if it's there or not. And I think it'll be there. And I think he's going to break into the 900s with like around 903. And that'll be good for second place. Because I don't see that would be 1.7% above the world record. And I don't see anyone else here actually going like 2+%. So he's my pick for number 2. Adriana, who do you have for number 2?
Okay, I have got last year's Sheffield champion, Jesus Alvarez, in number 2.
Oh,
Okay. just because I think he'll break the squat world record. And obviously he could win. He has the strength to basically lift anything he wants, especially in the deadlift. But let me just go through it. I've got him breaking Ray's squat world record. I think that's in the cards for him. His bench, he posted a PR triple, 251 kilos for 3. And that's kind of where he was last year. Like he did like 250 for 3 before last year's Sheffield. So I just have him matching that 600-pound bench. And then for deadlift, his deadlift strength, like I literally think he could pull like almost 1,000, like 950, 975 pounds in kilos, like what, like 430 around there. I just think this was literally like a 50-50 decision, like a flip of the coin if he makes that third deadlift or not. And for me, just watching his videos, like it was just so like hard for super heavyweights. Like this is kind of the problem with Sonita on the women's side too. And that last deadlift, he just like, I think Sheffield last year was kind of a not, I don't know the right word for it, like a one-time thing, if that makes sense. Like he didn't get his third deadlift and then the jury overturned it. So I think the same thing could happen, and we'll be waiting for that jury overturn and it doesn't come, because the same thing happened at Worlds. I think he tried to pull 900 pounds, so 410 kilos, just to kind of match his world record. He didn't get it. The jury didn't overturn it. So I just think the judging could be a little more strict this year, and that could not be in his favor. So I have him finishing in second place.
Okay. Who do you have in second, Ish?
okay. I thought I was gonna be extreme, but I guess I'm not. So I have in number 2, Kyoto. So Kyoto,
Oh,
he can
okay.
literally. I honestly believe he could either win or finish like close to last because of his deadlift. Like legit, he could be anywhere, but I'm just gonna take somewhat. It's not middle of the ground, but more of an upper end, saying he's second. So I do think in terms of percentages, he's probably got the highest percentage on the world record total possible. I actually have his absolute top end at 735.5 kilos, which is a 250 squat, 177.5 kg bench, and then deadlift. He's been talking about it, going above the world record, chipping it at 308 kilos. Now, Kyoto, I'm pretty confident in his squat and bench, and looking at his also how he peaks into competitions. He doesn't have the same issue that Pano does. Does like always having a drop off, but based on pure strength. But his actual issue is to do with his deadlift lockouts. So I think Kyoto with his deadlifts, I think he's looked a bit better more recently. Where his most recent pause triple PR, he did 275 for 3, and his knees they did look locked out to comp standard. But a few months ago, I think the 290 pause deadlift, it looked like his knees were still soft. But this is where I'm just gonna go out. Wait, I'm just gonna take a big a big dive and say he's gonna do well and he's gonna manage to actually knock out his deadlifts and get that second and live up to his top end potential. But the reason I don't have him in first is because who I have it ahead gets the last say in what he gets to pull, whereas Kyoto doesn't.
Right. Okay. So before we move on to number one, it's funny because I have the exact same squat and bench that you have for Kyoto. And the only difference is that 307.5 number is what I think is going to take him from probably not finishing second or even first, and maybe even like dropping down. Like if the world record was like 325 or like 280, like either way where it didn't affect his attempt selection, I think he has that strength. I just don't think 308 is there, and therefore I think he misses his third deadlift and that drops him down. But like it's right on that border, and we're right in the same range. So,
Yeah.
but speaking of that, right, then I would have him potentially in first. But speaking of first, I have like on this list like two through five pretty close, and then like 6 through 10 pretty close. The person that I have the biggest gap on this entire list is number one, which is Jesus Alvarez. If you've watched his training, just like things just continuously are just going well. Like they haven't stopped. So I think he's gonna probably take the world record squat on his third attempt. World record's 477.5 from Ray. I think he'll take 478. This is a perfect place to take it. Obviously, he gets paid out the extra 5,000 pounds, but also unlike World's Meet where he's in like an 8 lifter flight, he's in a 12 lifter flight, so he gets that extra time. So it'd be easier because he probably would be taking 2 squats over 1,000 pounds, which is difficult in general and also difficult when you have less time. So I think he's probably going to take 478. That's my guess for if things are going well in the day, that'll be his third. Maybe if things are going crazy, he might go heavier than that, but I actually don't even think that's necessarily good because I think he's better off taking a number that he's very confident with because if he just hits his lifts and doesn't try to go any higher than these numbers, it'll be enough to win. Bench has looked good. He's hit rep PRs. I think he's probably in like the 277, maybe even 280 range. Like I think bench is looking really good. Now deadlift, he can pull anything. I personally have him down just hitting 420, not because that's top end. I think his top end is probably like 435, maybe 440, who knows? But I just don't think it'll matter. Like it might even be less than 420. Like I think it's even though I have him having a big lead, because he's a heavyweight and they take big jumps, I don't think it's realistic that he'll have it locked up on a second deadlift. So he's probably going to have to take his third deadlift for the win. In which case, the numbers that are going to matter are, I guess, the only three numbers that are even semi-relevant are number one is the number he needs to load to chip the win at Sheffield. Number two would be to chip also the deadlift world record for the extra 5,000. And then also I know he wants to break the wraps world record, which also is within the cards. So end of the day, I have no idea what he's going to hit in his third deadlift because there are three factors involved, and all three of them have nothing to do with his top end trend. Like I don't think there's any chance he takes his top end deadlift unless he somehow locks it up on a second. So I'm just throwing out 420, which would give him 1178 total, and that would be 2.2% above the world record total. I have no idea what he's actually going to take on that, and I know he's had some issues with judges, but like if you've looked at his heavy deadlifts, like they've looked pretty good, and they've been above this number. So I'll put him at that 1178 and first place. Ish, who do you have winning?
Yeah, so I have the same pick as you. I have Jesus winning. I actually think Jesus can absolutely obliterate the world record total again, but I don't think he will because he's looking to win Sheffield 2025 as well. So I don't think it's smart for him to do that, basically. So he's mentioned himself. I don't think he will hit 1200 because he's trying to save himself. So squats, I think he'll just raise world record total. So he's done 475 in training. He's a heavyweight, so usually he squats more on meet day. And obviously, because how Sheffield is, it's literally the meet that's made for him because it's a 12 lifter flight. Like he'll always have his best meets at Sheffield. He wouldn't ever have them at Worlds because how short the flights are. But yeah, I think he will just raise world record squat on his third. Bench, I think he'll do 280. He's talked about it. That's what he's trying to hit, and he has already hit that in the gym months ago. And right now he's doing more rep work stuff, so it's not really reflective of his top end. So I do think he'll hit 280. Then for deadlifts, I think what he'll do, so is the best he's done in training was 425 or 426. which was 2 weeks ago. And his last heavy deadlift he done was 410, his current world record, which he literally made it move like a second attempt, and he was holding it for a very long time. So I think what he'll do is he'll probably just secure the cash grab with the 410.5 on his second deadlift to get that extra cash, and then he'll just wait it out and load whatever he needs to win and see if everyone else misses or not. So I think for first, what I do have Jesus at first because he has that last say in his final deadlift, but also I think in total there's probably 4 people in contention for that win. I think for Keiko, so I have Jesus, Kyoto, Kale, and Keiko in contention, but Keiko, I think he needs all 3 of those guys to miss because I don't think Keiko can go 2% above the world record total, whereas the rest of guys who have in my top 3 can. But yeah, I have Jesus in number 1, and I don't think he'll drop below top 3.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely with that. I don't think. I mean, I think there's no chance he drops below top 2. Like I have him comfortably first. But the only thing is if Kyoto pulls something that I'm surprised at. Either way, let's finish
Hey,
off our number ones. Adriana.
Okay, for my number 1 pick, I have got Mr. Perfect himself, Jonathan Kaiko. Basically, it literally, like when you guys were giving your picks for number 1, I'm kind of like, should I switch? Maybe I'll switch later. I still haven't submitted my fantasy league. Um, it's just tough. I think on the men's, and I'm not trying to go back on my pick. Like, I'll put Kaiko. Um, the men's are just so tight. Like, I think 1 through 6 or 1 through 5 for me are really tight. But I also agree, I don't think Jesus will drop below second place. For me, picking Kaiko first, it literally just comes down to if Jesus can get that last deadlift or not. Or it literally could come down to who are the judges for the day. Do they like Jesus's deadlift? Do they not like it? Are they going to give a red light? Who's on the jury? Are they going to overturn it? I don't know. But the person who doesn't have any question marks at all is Jonathan Kaiko. Every other person who is in contention to me had at least 1 question mark. Like my order for the ranking was Kaiko, no question marks. Jesus, deadlift, we know the lockout, sometimes on bench, sometimes he misses a bench at Worlds. Like Kaiko, he doesn't miss any lifts. I've got Gavin in 3rd, obviously the squat, big question mark. I've got Panna in 4th, the cut. He misses attempts. Like he rarely, I don't think he's gone 9 for 9 I don't think he might have ever gone 9 for 9. Kyoto, I've gotten 5th, his deadlift, big question mark there. So Kaiko is the only person who does not have a single question mark. So I have him going around 900 kg and I'll have him winning.
Okay.
Okay.
So that was our top half, and we had a little bit less agreement than we did on the women's side. So it's interesting. I think it is true. It's just much closer. Like I don't know if you remember from last year, Sheffield, the women broke the world record total in basically every weight class, and the men only did in, I believe, 2 weight classes. I think Keiko and Jesus were the only ones who broke the world. I think this year's
And
different.
Gavin, and Gavin.
Right, and Gavin. So just 2 weight classes though. So I think this year's different. I think we might see more, but either way, even with that, I don't think anyone's going to shatter the world record by like 4% or even 3%. So I think everyone's like pretty tightly grouped. So it'll be interesting. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our second half of the rankings, and we will start from number 12. And I will start with my number 12, which is this is an interesting one because I'm a huge fan of him and friendly with him. But Delaney Wallace, I have at 12. Just he has not been posting any squats or deadlifts, which is not in itself anything significant. He's not one who posts all the time and often doesn't post top sets either. Like last year, he didn't do it coming to Sheffield. Last year, I had known that he was hitting certain things though, like I'd heard from the grapevine and whatever, and seen certain things that weren't posted. This year, I have not. So while I think if he's healthy, I think he would be right at like the board, like just like last year. I think if he was healthy and had a perfect day, he would like chip the world record. I don't think he's fully healthy, and I don't think he's going to break the world record. And he's not in contention on any of the single lifts. Benches looks good. He's post bench. I expect him to probably be in the 205 range there, which would be a nice PR. But we haven't seen anything from squat or deadlift, so I think he's probably going to end up falling a, a bit short of the world record total, and probably closer to his world's total, which is going to put him a few percent under world record total. And I have him in 12th. Ish, who do you have for number 12?
Yeah, so for me, I have the same case as you. I have Delaney at number 12. So it's nothing to do with, it's just mainly to do with him being injured. It seems like he's still injured on his squat and deadlift. He hasn't been posting at all. His bench is going amazing. Like he benched 210, which he posted a YouTube video link for. I mean, the bench world record is 218.5. I don't think he'll break that, but yeah, he's approaching slowly that world record bench by Owen Hubbard. So maybe in like a few years, he'll end up being that bench press specialist in the class. But yeah, as of now, I have Delaney at last place mainly because he hasn't been posting and it seems like he's still injured.
Okay, Adriana, who do you have at number 12?
I have also got Delaney Wallace. Same reasons you guys said. It's always tough when lifters are injured and they don't post anyways. Like you don't know, maybe they could be not faking it, but maybe their last few weeks have turned around and they're not posting anything. They want you to think they're injured. But I don't know. Delaney likes to post hype posts, even if he doesn't post the weights. He still posts that he's like last year Sheffield. He posted a lot of hype videos, even if he wasn't showing the weights. Like he's the type to want to grow his social media. He's not going to be the type to just kind of fake it, fake an injury or whatever. So yeah, I have him coming in last. I mean, I literally had no idea what to put for his squat and deadlift. So kind of the same as you guys. I just had him going probably around his world's performance, maybe a little less, and they'll be a lot under the world record set by Russell Orhe. So yeah, I've got him in last place.
Okay. Before I move to number 11, I just want to make a point which is interesting because the two people here that we know the least about now, Delaney and Anatoly, I put Delaney at 12 because I am under the impression he's injured, and the way he's posting makes it look that way. Versus Anatoly, he also hasn't posted anything significant weight except for bench, but which same thing as Delaney. But if you have looked, unlike Delaney, he's put the weights for his lighter stuff, and it has just looked extremely easy. So it's very light, but it doesn't look like it's light and he's like pushing through an injury and it's like hard. It's like he's taking like, let's say 270 on squat or 270 on deadlift, and it's just looking like he's just doing some back downs or some warm-ups. Like, so it's possible that he's still injured and whatever, but I think of the two, he's the one that I see there's a bigger chance that he's actually 100% and just for some reason playing games. So that's why I had him all the way at number 6 and Delaney at 12. But I'll go to number 11, which I have is Carlos Peterson Griffith. Now, I think he's a great story, and I think he's great for Sheffield. And if you've listened to him, he's been on the King Lifts podcast. He's been on the Sabato. He's been on some podcasts, and he's interesting to listen to. And if you've looked at his training, his squat and deadlifts are going pretty crazy. His squat looks like it's in the world record range. He took an attempt at Malta, which he didn't hit. It's a little stronger now. I think he will definitely attempt it. He might attempt to chip it. He might more. It'll depend him and Gavin. It'll depend a little bit on lot numbers, who goes first and who like has the choice to chip versus push. And we'll see. Maybe one of them takes on their second attempt. I don't think that's advised, but who knows? And his deadlift has looked crazy. He pulled, I think it was like 365 for a double. The world
Yeah, I think
record
it was
is,
like 362.5, like
yeah,
something,
something like
but
that.
it was clean, yeah.
Yeah, so the world record is Chance Mitchell's RIP's 373 and a half. I think presumably he takes the shot at the world record deadlift. Why not? Even if he has a great day, I still don't see him being towards the top. So I think he legitimately, like similar to some of the women we were saying, I think it's possible he ends up with both the squat and deadlift world record, but still comes in 11th place because his bench is like in the 170 something range. And to be blunt, like that's just not going to do it. the other 93s, Keiko was benching. I mean, Gavin, forget Keiko was benching 40 plus kilos more. Keiko was benching like 70 kilos more. Like, nowadays, you're not going to win with any weak lift. Like, you can't have any lift that's too far behind and win. You got to be at least solid on your lifts that you're not spectacular on. And he's talked about his bench and he said certain numbers that are a little bit shocking. I'm not just going to take his word for it. So I think maybe he goes like 177, something like that, which would put him like getting close to the world record total. Like if he hits squat world record, deadlift world record, and like bench 177. But realistically, I think odds are he's below the world record total, and I think he can maybe he hits like 880, which would be a great day, a huge total PR, but would still put him in that 11th range for me. So he's my number 11. Ish, who do you have at number 11?
Okay, so for me, I have the other person who seems to be injured, which is Adatoli. So Adatoli's injury has been more recent. That was at Euros. So obviously he hasn't been posting heavy squats or deadlifts. I don't know how well he'll be back. Maybe he'll get close to his world record total, but I don't think he'll get above it. One thing with Anatoly is I do think he'll attempt the bench press world record. He attempted that at Euros and missed it. So I'm guessing since it's Sheffield, and I don't think he's going to do well overall anyway, he'll probably just try and attempt it. So that's probably the main thing I'm thinking he's going to try and go for. Yeah, there isn't too much more to say for Anatoly. I don't, just mainly from the injury standpoint, I don't think he'll be doing too well overall.
Okay. Adriana, who do you have at number 11?
Okay, I have got the same as Mike. I've got Carlos Peterson Griffith. Pretty much the same points. Like his squat and deadlift are insane. Like he could potentially take the squat world record. He's not too far off the deadlift world record, considering he did the 362.5 for a double, like a clean double. But yeah, basically the bench is just like too far behind. And he has been talking about like going 900 plus, but which I would love to see. Like it would be insane to do that. Like that'd be awesome. But I think just realistically, like looking at the numbers, it's kind of hard too because he doesn't post that much, or when he posts, like he doesn't necessarily say the weight. But for bench is notoriously like the hardest lift to progress, just because it's lower weight in absolute terms. So to progress your bench by that much to like come close to 900 or set even like a 30 kilo PR, like that would be absolutely insane. So that's kind of my reasoning for why I had him going. I still think he can hit a total PR, like maybe something like 860, which would still be like nearly a 20 kilo PR. But yeah, I have him at number 11.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think he could hit even more than that, but I just still don't see how he's in contention past that. So for me, well, with the only exception being where Anatoly falls depending on injury. But so for me, at number 10, I have Gustav Hedlund. Training's looked really good. And he's a pretty good competitor. His squat's good, but it's not like I don't think it's with Gavin or Carlos Peterson Griffith. Like he's not going to be in the world record attempt range, but that's fine because I think he's probably like in the maybe 325 range, which means he probably ends up with the same squat as whichever one of those two, or maybe both of them, that ends up missing the world record squat. His bench is also good around Gavin's range, probably in like the 215 to 220 range, strong bench. And his deadlift is good also, 350. Like that's where I have him at. Like I think like him, he's actually very similar. I think if Gavin misses a squat, I think I have Gavin at 4th, and if he misses a squat, I have him in like the exact same spot basically as Gustav, who I have at 10th. So that just shows like the gap between, for me, 4th and 10th is a missed squat or a missed deadlift. Like assuming it's like a real jump, not like a take a 2.5 from 2nd to 3rd. So I can definitely see him moving up a few spots, and I don't really think he's going to end up lower than 10. Like I think 10's probably the lowest he ends up, and maybe like move up to like as high as 7. So that's what I have for number 10. Ish, who do you have at number 10?
So for number 10, I think all of France is gonna hate me. I have Pana.
Ooh.
So, so I'll just say, I remember once I said I think Kyoto can win, and then a lot of French people came out at me saying there's no way he's gonna win. Pana's gonna win. I don't know, maybe France is a bit there against Pana or something. I mean, against Kyoto, but yeah, the main reason Pana, obviously, we all know he has a high top end. Like he's done at 730 in the gym, but we also all know that he will always total less on the platform, and that's just basically based on his cut and also the training style, where obviously they train very heavy very often. So when you go to RP 9, 10 every session, it's harder to peak into a meet as well. And we've seen that historically, he usually drops 10 to 20 kilos. Now, I do think Hannah can break the world record total, but not by as much as all the other guys who I have ahead of him. Probably, I think he goes 710 to 715, but Pana, he also does have a history of having shockers like every now and then. Like, for example, Worlds was a very good meet for him, but Euros, he didn't have anyone to compete with, and I think he totaled less than 700 as well. Now, I do think he should have got his final deadlift, but yeah, the point still stands. He missed his second or third squat at Euros. And yeah, uh, it's not his performances are pretty up and down. And then I think if his training total was like 740, 750, then I would have had him a lot higher up just based on that 10 to 20 kilo drop he usually has. But 730 tells me it's probably around a 710 to 720 total on meet day if he executes perfectly. And that's given if he goes 9 for 9. If he doesn't, which I'm assuming he'll probably go 7 for 9, 8 for 9, I think he'll be just about ahead of the world record total or below it. So yeah, I have Pana down in 10th.
It's
Okay.
crazy because like Hannah, like I potentially could have him winning if he like if all the stars align into place. And they could because like all the French people are going to Sheffield and it's a crazy environment which he thrives off of. So he could rise to the occasion, but he could also finish 10th, like you said. So it's just like very, very interesting.
Yeah, I mean that's the crazy thing about like trying to do these like where they're going to finish spots is that like
Mhm.
let's say there's 12 lifters. Let's say you have like 4 of them who are consistent lifters that like you're pretty confident what they're going to total, like maybe within a small range, right? Let's say within 5 kilos. So you might be those 4 you might be really confident on and like they'll hit that. But the problem is you have another 8 lifters who like their range could literally be 30 kilos. Like they can hit, let's say, like Panic hit 725, it can hit 695, and they're both like maybe equally likely. So it makes it impossible for like you rank those people like you're just guessing like do you think they're gonna have a good day? Do you think they're gonna make smart attempt selections? But it also means that everyone else, even the ones who you do think you know where they're gonna go, all their rankings shake up based off whether these people actually make lifts or not. So that's why the whole thing is interesting. But who do you have at number 10?
I have got Anatoly Novopizmeni again just because of the injury. And I do agree with you, Mike. Like when you look at what he's posting on Instagram, it does seem a little more likely than Delaney that he could be like closer to 100%. Because I mean, he's a like 360 kilo squatter, and usually he takes like around like 270, and he always posts like sets of 8 with 270 or same thing on deadlift. And what he's posting now is like 270 for 2 or similar numbers on deadlift, but they're so easy. Like it looks like he could do 8. So we have just zero idea where he is right now. So this was very hard to predict, but I just had him going around 227.5 kilo bench, maybe taking a shot at the world record and potentially could hit it, potentially could not. I just said not. And then squat and deadlift, I had no idea. I just put like something close to his best, but not exactly. So I have him ending up with a 915 kilo total and in 10th place.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of what you said, like it's an interesting point. Like he usually posts like the sets of 7 and 8 with like this kind of like range. I mean, it's possible. I'm not saying it is, but it's definitely possible he's just trying to pull a Taylor. Like I was in the gym the day that Taylor pulled the 310 for 4 deadlifts before nationals in Daytona, and then just posted a 310 single.
Mm-hmm.
Like just posted the last rep of it. Like it is possible he's literally just clipping 2 reps from a set and just posting it. I'm not the biggest fan of it because I mean deadlifts maybe, but it's really only an advantage to do this stuff when it's a head-to-head and really only still on deadlifts. Because it's the only thing that there's really adjustments for and gamemanship. Like, I'll discuss it later with one of my lifters, one of the picks I have. But like, I don't see the point of it, but it is possible he's just doing that. So anyway, on to number 9, and I have Papa from Great Britain, Mr. Tony Cliff. Now, listen to him talk a little bit, and he said he doesn't care about the world record. He's coming for 1,000 kilos. I don't really see how he gets that 1,000 kilos. I've looked at his training, looked at it a lot, and I don't see, like, I mean, maybe he gets something crazy from a taper. I don't know, but based off what I've seen, I don't see how it's there. I think he'll make a run. The world record bench is 253. I think he will take that, like 253 and a half. He'll probably chip that. Squat, I see probably being somewhere in like the 365 range, maybe. And deadlift also probably similar to that. I think he's probably going to end up. I think he could, if he takes the best attempt selection, could break the world record and total in the low to mid 980s. But I don't think 1,000's there. And I think if he does shoot for 1,000, he might drop down a couple of spots here. So I think he's going to break the world record total by a little bit, like 0.5%, maybe up to 1%, possibly. But yeah, so I have him at number 9. Ish, who do you have at number 9?
Wait, just before continue, who did you have at number 9? I completely missed that section because I disconnected.
Oh, I had Tony Cliff.
Okay, yeah. So for number 9, yeah, I have Tony Cliff as well. So with Tony, looking at his training, I'd say 2 months ago, I would have had him even further down, but it seems like it's really picked up now. Like he's just squatted 350 for 2 singles. He didn't show it, but considering he done it for 2 singles, I'm guessing it wasn't super maximal. He probably has a bit more, 355, 360. Bench, I think he's consistently bench just above the world record, and usually he hits whatever he does in training. So I think he'll just chip Dennis's world record total. Deadlift is the one that just recently really picked up. He deadlifted 360, where it looked like he had more in the tank. I know Tony usually does deadlift more on the platform as well, so I think he might be able to get 370. So I think with Tony, he'll probably get a bench record, and he might just chip Dennis's world record total with between 979 and 984. So I have his squat at 355 to 360, bench 254, and deadlift 370. Now, Tony has talked about 1,000 kilos, but I think that seems out of reach based on everything that he's posted. I do think, though, he can break the world record total. It's just everyone else ahead of him, I think, can break it by a bigger margin than he can.
Okay. Adriana, who do you have in this spot?
I also have Tony Cliff at number 9. All the same reasons as you guys have said. He has said like he's aiming for 1,000. It's almost like worrying when someone says that, because that kind of indicates that maybe they'll take attempts that are a little too heavy on their first and second, and then just like shoot for the moon on their third and miss, and then how all that goes. I think he even said in a post that he was getting ready to open heavy on squats, so he needs to get used to that. So I was like, ooh, that's a little worrying. But regardless, I think he has a chance to break the world record. But if anything, just chip it. I have him going a little lower at like 965 or 966-ish. I think he could break the bench world record. But I think he could take a shot at the total world record and then just barely miss it, or he could get it and maybe bump up a place or two. That kind of just depends. But yeah, I mean, it's great to see these lifters like hype up, I'm gonna break the world record by this much. Like we see like Tony saying that, Pana, Kyoto, I think Kyoto might have said like 740 or 750, but oftentimes it's just not the case. Like it would be awesome if all of these lifters went above the world record by 5-6%, but usually if you hit a total PR, it's not going to be by like 30 plus kilos. So that was just kind of my reasoning with that.
Okay. Let's, for number 8, Ish, you go first.
Okay, so for number 8, I'm putting him higher than you two are putting him. I have Carlos Peterson number 8. Now, I'll just bring up the lifters I said from before. There's 3 lifters who I think are the super wild cards. There's Carlos, Kyoto, and Pana. I think they have the biggest variance in where they could finish. Like I do have Carlos in 8th, but he could go up to. It just depends where his bench is. He could go up to 4th or whatever. So if his bench is really picked up, but yeah, with Carlos, I think I do think he will do well, and he will surprise a lot of people. I think after this meet, people will see him as one of those top 93s. So with Carlos, I think he will go above the current world record squat. Now, what I think will happen, he'll probably try about 332.5, and but then Gavin will go after him. So it just depends if Gavin can hit it as well. But it's possible Carlos gets the world record squat if Gavin misses his third. Bench, he hasn't posted bench at all. But given the rate of his other 2 lifts, I'm guessing it's gone well. I mean, he has talked a lot, so I don't know, maybe he's trying to pull off another EV where he just completely hides his bench. He benches 200, he ends up winning the entire thing, but I don't think he'd bench 200. I think I'll have him at probably 7.5 kilo bench PR, which is like 180. And then deadlift, the recent deadlift is what really made me think he's gonna join that pack of like 890 plus. He doubled 365 conventional. So I mean, considering it's conventional as well, he'll definitely be able to pull like 10, 15 kilos more. I think he will take chances world record deadlift on his third pull. So I have him at about 890 to 892.5, which is above the current world record total. And this is with a 180 bench. That's just how good his squat and deadlift is. But yeah, I think he will go above, but I think everyone, the other 93s will go above that 890, 892.5 range. But I do think just based on how I've seen, he's probably the most genetically gifted 93 right now. He's super jacked. And the guy doesn't even train powerlifting full time. He does strongman half the time as well. Like, just wondering what you do if he just dedicates fully to powerlifting. But yeah, I have him
Yeah.
at number 8.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, his squat and deadlift are crazy, and his bench is unknown. I would love to see him actually hit those kind of numbers. I don't know if it's realistic, but it would be fun. And I also love that he like called out the other 93s for not pushing it, because I've been saying for some time that like the 93s, like yeah, they're fun, but like part of the reason why it's so competitive is because there's nobody that's like taking that next jump. So I would love for him to say that and back it up. Like if he totals 890, like even if he comes third or even fourth of these 93s, if he totals like 890, then that would be impressive to me. Adriana, who do you have at number 8?
I have got Gustav Hedlund in number 8. Kind of the same reasons you listed, Mike. I think you also had him in 8.
No, I'm at 10. I didn't do it yet.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I just think that it's just, I mean, he could potentially finish like third, fourth if he rises to the occasion. But I think just looking at his like past meets, he's done 880. That's his best total, but that was at a local meet, or not a local meet. I think it was at like Swedish Nationals. But when he's traveled, it just like he's gotten close, but just not quite like breaking that 880 mark. And with like Kaiko and Gavin potentially going like close to 900, like 895 to 900, then I think Gustav could hit like around the PR total, like just a little bit above 880, or coming close to the world record currently at 888. But I just don't think it'll be enough to break it by as much as Gavin or Kaiko and rise up in the rankings. Mike, I think you're muted or frozen.
I'll do this back to back.
Okay, wait, just say what you said again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
So I left myself last for 8th because my 8th and 7th, I'm going to do them back to back, are I have them basically in the exact same spot. And these are 2 people that would have been in contention for first and definitely second, third, if not for Shell. And in 8th, I have my favorite lifter, Cal Johansson. So this has been a little interesting because we haven't seen his top end on deadlift, but for the first time ever, I mean, my nickname for him was Mr. Sandbag, because every meet he sandbagged in training, he always posted like PRs at like RP8, but this is the first time we've actually seen him push himself. Like we've seen him take RP10 lifts in the gym now, which I don't know if he ever did previously in post or just never did. And I think he is capable of breaking the world record total. I think he's probably going to squat around, I have him at 277.5. I have him benching 192.5. And I have him deadlifting 337.5. Now, the thing is, deadlift obviously is the biggest unknown, right? He hit 325 for a double. And he's potentially capable of more, and it's potentially even a lot more. Like, if he pulls 345, that moves him from where I have him at 8th to, like, literally maybe even fighting for 2nd. I'm not sure. Or definitely fighting for top 3. So, but I don't know. Like, is it there? It's possible, but I'm not confident enough on him hitting something like so much above what he's ever done. So I have him at 337.5, which would give him an 807.5 total. And then Tim, I have in 7th. I think he's going to break the world record total and probably do it on a 2nd attempt, squat like in the 290 range. And then I give Tim the advantage because even though he benches significantly less than Callie, he squats more, and we've actually seen his deadlift in training. Like, it's one thing to estimate based off some lower reps, but we've seen Tim pull 345. We've seen him double 340. So I think end of the day, Tim is going to pull like enough just like slightly past Callie. I think probably, I don't know if he's going to be in range for the people ahead unless they miss. Like, if they miss, this whole thing shakes up. These people at 8 and 7 can easily end up in 3rd and 4th easily if there's some misses from the people ahead, and all those people are question marks. So I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. But for now, assuming these other people actually do execute, I'm going to have Tim slightly ahead of Callie just because he's actually done the deadlift already, and that is my 8 and 7, and both them at like about 1% above the world record total. Ish, who do you have at number 7?
Okay, just before I go on to that, yeah, I think that's interesting. The main thing is you're not as confident in Callum's deadlift as I am. I know maybe I'm just being a Cali fanboy, but this is just based on what I've seen him previously do, because he's always deadlifted more in the meet than he has in the gym. But yeah, now I go on to number 7. So number 7, I have Gustav Hedlund. Now his training has looked good, very good. I think with squats, I realized with Gustav, he never really goes all out of squats in training. He usually does more in the gym. I mean, on meet. So I think his heaviest squat leaving into Worlds was like 312, 315. I did about 12, but did 7.5, 10 kilos more. I see like a similar case happening now. So I think his heaviest squat 315, 317.5 so far in training. I think he'll do about 325 squat on meet day. His bench is continuously just added on. I think he'll hit that 220 kg benchmark. And then deadlift, I think he'll deadlift probably about 350, which looks like based on training he'll hit. So if you're adding all that up, that's 895 kg total, which is about 0.8% above the current world record total, which obviously is good, but I don't think that's good enough to get a higher than everyone else unless everyone else misses. So, I mean, I have Gavin just ahead of Gustav, so I think that's someone that he can beat if Gavin ends up missing his third squat.
Okay. And Adriana, finish us off.
All right, for my number 7 pick, I've got Carl Johansson. And if we go back to the very beginning of the podcast, I had Tim in 6th. So I think they'll be very close. I actually have Callie or Carl a little bit lower on squat than I think you both have. I think I have him going around, let me find it, around like 270, 272.5. Just to kind of match his best from Worlds, because I realized he does have a cut. Like, if you look at his open powerlifting, I believe he did a bench only meet very recently, and he hit 187.5. So that's what I've got him at in this meet too. But he weighed like, I think it was 77 point something kilos. So he does have a little bit of a cut, and he does tend to, like, I think in Worlds, he hit 275 in prep in the gym, and then on meet day he ended up hitting 267.5, and it was like an all-out grinder. So that could have been the cut travel. Maybe that won't happen again. Maybe he'll end up hitting the 280 that he'll hit, but I just took a little bit off of that. And then bench, I have him hitting that 187.5. And the kind of same reason that as Mike, I have him hitting like a 343 deadlift, like just based off of that 325 double we saw. But it's just a projection. Like Tim's, we've actually seen that 345 deadlift. Like I have him hitting 343, Carl, to break the world record by just half a kilo, so 800.5. And then I think Tim can just wait, like just put in the placeholder of like 350 or so, and then just drop to like 347.5, 345 if it's a lot number, depending what he needs. I think he could just chip over what Carl has and hit around 801. And then that's why I have them back to back in the placings, Carl at 7th and Tim at 6th.
Okay. So yeah, so I guess we have the same idea. We both have them back to back. I have them one spot below, and that's just because I have Anatoly potentially like still performing. But also you have them, so you have them both one spot ahead and both of them like a bit lower on the actual total. So I guess me and Ish are the most optimistic ones here on our projected totals. But
Yeah, maybe I'm a little bit
no, you're
more
probably more real.
conservative.
You're probably being more realist.
I'll probably be the most optimistic of everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just saying like Keiko's gonna
350
go
deadlift.
910.
Yeah.
But I mean we'll see. Like Sheffield's it's like it's a crazy environment, and we know they're gonna level up from last year. So sometimes like Jesus, for instance, like the show he put on last year was just like crazy. Like no one fathomed he could do what he did. So
No, I believed in Jesus. I said he was
yeah,
going to win
yeah.
MVP last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see.
Okay, fine. So that is it for our Sheffield preview. It's hopefully this will be released in the next day or two, and you'll be able to listen to it right before Sheffield. And everybody enjoy watching the biggest spectacle in the sport, and seeing, I think, even more world records broken this year, especially from the men's side compared to last year. So yeah, that's it for our Future of Powerlifting Sheffield preview show. Thank you.